Hey guys, what's up? It's the first ever episode of Controversies Over Coffee. I'm your host, Austin Katz, and I'm here with JT and Casey Melzer.
How's it going?
Hello.
So first things first, we are going to be covering a emotionally charged subject, and there are going to be some different opinions, and I want them all to be heard. I want you guys to both be polite to each other and allow all opinions to be heard and don't interrupt, okay?
I will
Yes,
try
sir.
my best.
Also, I'd like you both to listen to what the other person is saying without bias and hear what they have to say, what they believe, and why they believe it. Okay?
Sounds
do
good
that.
to me.
All right. So, how you guys doing? How's your day been?
Good. I mean, nothing too eventful. Just got out of practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Me too. Not very fun.
Me as well.
Yeah.
Looking hard. It's a Tuesday, so
Yeah.
school year's almost over.
One more week.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking about Tuesdays transitioning.
Yeah.
Not very fun.
The transition days.
Yeah, transition days not great.
Tuesdays do not get enough credit.
Yeah, they don't. So, how's the coffee? How's it tasting?
Warm.
That's as it should be.
Mine's cold.
Oh, a nice coffee will
Nice
do that
one.
It was a
too.
little sunny today. I thought
Hmm.
wouldn't be bad.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about yourselves. Give a little background, Casey.
About myself.
Yeah.
About my family and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew up, my parents are pretty, say, leftward leaning,
Mm-hmm.
more democratic in their standings. Kind of religious, kind of fell out of that around high school, but overall not a very political upbringing at all.
Okay.
For the most part, we're not a very political family. We don't talk about big issues. I know that my parents are more liberal, and I think that's rubbed off on me, but more so than anything, just not being very much a part of politics has rubbed off on me the most, I think, from my parents.
Okay.
But definitely got some liberal
Qualities, liberal qualities.
views from my parents, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. JT, what about yourself?
I grew up 10 minutes south of Minneapolis in a city called Bloomington, Minnesota. Suburbs.
I'm Pittsburgh, by the way, northeast. So
Yeah.
both out of Texas.
Yes, much farther. Completely different culture. I grew up middle class. City I was from has both sort of a poorer area, a lot of Section 8 housing, to some really nice homes, so we got the whole shebang. But yeah, middle class parents are typically conservative, so I grew up with that influence, but my parents always allowed me to form my own political opinions. But as many of you know, Minneapolis and Minnesota is a pretty liberal state, so I was exposed to both sides of the spectrum when it comes to politics. So I got a good, you could say, exposure to both sides and different views. So
Good mix.
I'm always open to changing my views.
All right, that's good to know. Hopefully, we'll talk a little about that after the show. But so right now, I'll give you a little information on myself. I'm from Sarasota, Florida. Quite a big change from here to Texas. Not so much in temperature; it's pretty much the same. But my family was conservative growing up, as Florida usually is. It's a pretty big swing state. But yeah, so raised very conservative, religious household. I would say like middle class, upper middle class family. But yeah, so that's a little background info on myself. But today, let's get right into it and let's talk about our controversy. So we're going to be talking about abortion. And yeah, quite a heavy controversy to start with.
Heavy
But
stuff.
so what are your guys' views on the matter?
All right. So again, I guess I'm the more liberal candidate in this controversy. But I'd have to say I'm, for the most part, pro-choice. That I think my friends and my family and the people, like my upbringing, the people I've surrounded myself with growing up, have formed that for me. And I think a lot of my views come from not really things that have happened to me, but things that have happened to people that I know and that I'm close with. Like, for an example, I had a friend who I'm obviously going to keep nameless for this, but she was in a kind of a situation with no consent at like a college party,
Mm-hmm.
and she kind of fell victim to what a lot of people fall victim to today. And the next day, she was talking to me and like worried that she was, pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, the only thing like I could think was like, there's no way if I were a female, and I know that's impossible to put myself in that like mind space, but if I were a female and that happened to me and I got pregnant with some random person that I don't know who like took advantage of me, I would feel like there's no way that I would be able to raise that child. And from the beginning, I would think that it's my body and be my choice to do what I want. And in that scenario specifically, I feel like that's a choice that everyone should have.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are my views.
JT, what's your view?
So we're going just on like political view first.
Yeah, let's just kind of go.
Sorry, that's just kind of where I went.
Yeah.
Oh no, like I mean, just kind of say what you want to say about like just what are your views,
Yep. I tend to be pro-life. I've done my best to talk to other people, do my research, watch a lot of other people speak on it. I think it's kind of crazy because nowadays people don't think that a subject like abortion's worked its way into politics. Like I was talking to someone maybe a week ago, but think about this as really like politics nowadays.
Everything is politics nowadays.
Exactly. I mean, what concerns the general population, I think, is pretty important. So I think it's good to have discussions about it and just expose yourself to different views based on the topic.
Yeah, no, I definitely, what you said earlier about politics becoming more and more a societal thing, that's something that's definitely brought on more by social media. I think there's been a huge move for politics on that platform. A lot more people are voicing their opinion on that. Younger people, especially with like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think that's becoming super eminent, and I think that's kind of what our generation's doing, and I think that's something for the better. But
definitely. And just to build off that, it's kind of interesting, like to think about how far politics have come over the years. Because like back in the day, you needed to own land or whatever to be a part of politics. You had to be a man. Your last name needed to be Esquire. Just to like have a play in it. But like now, I think especially with the 21st century, just media in general, we get so much exposure to it, and nowadays it can come into our own homes. Like back then, you had to go search for it, but now it can come into your homes through media and mobile technology. So.
Okay, yeah. So, kind of to go through what Casey said earlier about, have you known anyone who's ever received an abortion? Has that influenced your opinion at all?
I wouldn't be surprised if I've known someone that has. I think it tends to be a tough topic to talk about for a lot of women, so I don't expect anybody just to be that open with something that private.
Yeah, no, I get that. So yeah, I mean, like, have your guys' religious views influenced your thoughts on the debate at all? Like pro-choice, pro-life, has that been influenced by, your religion?
For me, I grew up Christian, so I have those beliefs. But nowadays, I think though politics and religion play a part together, we're looking at something like the United States, which is just a majority of different religions and different views and backgrounds. So I think it's important to look at subjects like this on a wider base than just something that I'm familiar with. So I tend to not let a religious view just on abortion influence my opinion. I like the facts. I like the economic standpoints and whatnot to influence my decisions as well.
Okay.
Just so I can be a part of conversations.
Yeah.
I would agree. I would say that with something like religion in the United States, where, what people call the United States like a melting pot of like race, ethnicity, like religion, everything. I think when it comes to things like political issues that have to deal with people's like rights and laws, I think since there are so many like religions in the United States, I've always thought that keeping those things separated was important, and I think personally I've done the same thing where my religious upbringing never really influenced my political views or standpoints. I always thought of them as two completely separate things. and I never really let them intertwine.
Yeah.
In my own head, at least.
Yeah, and for me, just to clarify my standpoint, the religious views do play a part in my personal view, but just to engage with other people, I think it's important to have different point of views of an arsenal to gauge from.
All
I
right.
would agree.
So not to get any more controversial than this controversy already is,
Let's do it.
but JT, so let's hear your side, pro-life. Like why is that the just side? Why are you guys righteous in your beliefs? Why do you think that the other side, pro-choice, is wrong? Kind of let me hear that. What you think?
Well, I don't think it's really a righteousness so much. I think it's an opinion. So I think saying if someone's self-righteous about something, I think that can be kind of demeaning. But I think it has to do with the bigger picture. I think it's a human being based on contraception. I think it takes two people to make a baby. Just in general, I think. I don't know if I feel like nowadays abortions have become another form of birth control. I was just in Iceland last summer, and they've actually gotten rid of all the babies with Down syndrome just from abortions.
Sheesh.
Which is
Pretty crazy. They just
What's that called? What's that like? There's like a word for
There's a
that.
term for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is exactly. I mean, you look at it, you see it in China. It's a gender genocide going on right now. They're killing female babies, not giving them a chance of life. You see it in Canada with these Indian immigrants. I mean, Canada is a completely different culture than India, but the Indians are, of course, going to hold up to their what they feel. I mean, those parts of the world, women have no rights at all. So I think those families, it's much more important for them to have a male. I, on the other hand, think it's important to give anybody that has a chance at life a chance. But I mean, I think economically, I just don't think it's right to be, cutting babies' spines, these second, third trimester abortions. I know there's the stigma that these don't exist, but there's scientific proof. What surprises me is something that you can Google, like abortion. You'll look up there, and there's barely any pictures of it. So I think people just aren't educated on the fact. I think, obviously, we don't all have the same facts when it comes to different subjects, and that all changes our views. But I don't know. I think it's a baby, and you should not kill that. And I know the discussion will go to, well, how do I think that I can change that from my point of view? I don't think it's ever going to change. I would like it to at least be frowned upon. Like I said, this has been going on for generations. I know Margaret Sanger started the Planned Parenthood, and I mean, I think, and I know this may not be a popular opinion, but based on like what I've seen with interviews from her and her quotes, I think she was a complete racist. I think the abortions were made to bring down the black population. They say it's to get crime out, but you notice that these Planned Parenthood institutions tend to be in poorer, lower class neighborhoods. I think it's fair to say that crime is bigger in our cities and our suburbs. I think the thought that abortion is going to change that is wrong. I think the bigger problem is men need to step in. Enough of these one-night stands, enough of these just going out and having sex without any consequences. I don't think that's the right thing to do. So I'm not saying this is just women that have to change. I think men need to step up and do a better job of being the man of the household, taking responsibility for their actions, and giving children a chance to live.
I would agree. I would agree with what you're saying, that men need to step in more in this certain issue. I think that this is a largely women-fought battle going on right now. But I think to say that, or I think that like putting or expressing your opinion, like you said about like, it's not like guys shouldn't be going around like one night stands and stuff. I think that's a completely valid opinion. I think that's fair. But I think in like a conversation about something like abortion, that's not like, I don't know, that's not the kind of thing that's going to fix this problem. If air quotes, I know this is just audio, fix this problem.
Yep.
Just saying like you shouldn't be doing that. That's not good. I think what you were saying about like the second or third trimester, I mean, that is ridiculous. I think there should definitely need to be limits on what you can do with your own body. But I think, like, if you get it as soon, that sounds terrible. It's such a hard thing to talk about without sounding like,
Well, I mean, that's the
I'm just
thing
trying
about,
to be like sensitive.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing about these controversies. Like, there isn't really an easy way to put it. That's why we're kind of talking about it in this setting.
That's true.
You know,
So,
just in a relaxed setting, just friends. You know.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if, like, my friend in that example is in a situation, wakes up and is worried that she is pregnant with some guy who date raped her. They go and she finds out that she's pregnant. Then I think in that moment, making the decision to have an abortion, and it is hard for me to say, but I think that is her choice and that she should completely be able to do that. Mm-hmm. But I think if she had waited 4 or 5 months and then decided that that's what she wanted to do, I think that's where there need to be like legal step-ins, and there needs to be some kind of, regulation. But again, it's hard. This is a topic that like people all have different opinions on, and that like people are very excited to argue about and to share their opinions about, which is fine. It says a lot about the issue itself, that it's something that needs to be figured out. But I think it needs to find a very solid middle ground and then be backed up by like set regulations and standards like set by the law that will kind of mediate both sides and in one way or another make both sides happy in some case, if that makes any sense how I'm trying to say that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think another popular opinion, and this is just going on the pro-choice stance, is that for women, their body, their choice. Like I said, I think a lot of people have the unpopular opinion that just because you're a male, you can't talk about a certain topic just because of gender or whatnot. I mean, there's 3.5 billion women. I think us 3 guys can notice things, at least, and notice things about women. But I mean, I'd tell a female murderer not to pull a trigger and shoot people, and that's telling her what to do with her body. I think criminally, there's also the topic of when it's really considered a baby. If a woman that was pregnant was shot, it'd be considered a double homicide. So I think it's just really, it's a hard thing. And I think there's this idea that like we need to shoot for equality. I'm totally for equality, but I think in the modern world nowadays, it's almost impossible to find something that works out for everybody 100% of the time.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
And then, I mean, that's the thing. That's the price we pay for freedom. But I think it's nice that we're always able to choose, able to change our laws. We're able to vote. I think we live in one of the best countries in the world, and I think we take that for granted. We can't curse on here, right?
No.
Okay. Well, I think it's a really effed up world, and I think this is all the women. It is an effed up world. There's a lot of bad stuff going out there, so always be on the lookout. You got to be careful. I mean, obviously, it's a messed up world, and now with social media and stuff, we're exposed to it even more. So.
These are both really good thoughts and opinions. I really surprised, honestly, that you guys came up with these. Like, I'm really proud, as a friend. I'm really happy that this was said.
I mean, we talked a little bit before this where I said, like, I've been trying to develop my view on this topic in the last 24 hours. But I feel like just talking to JT about this now, I've, like, for the first time, like, since I've consciously thought about this, like, realized, where I really do stand on this. So
that's the stigma. I think people nowadays are so against like talking politics. I mean, you guys can even tell by the tone of our voices, we're not arguing or anything. We're just stating our opinions. It's pretty respectful. I think everybody's here is comfortable. So I think that's how politics should be talked nowadays. I think there's a lot of hatred out there for people that think differently than you. I think I personally like to expose myself to different people. I talk to people that are Muslim. I talk to people that are Democrat. I talk to people that are come from such different things just to expose myself. And I think that's the piece we're missing nowadays. I don't think people are open to talking.
I think if people change their minds and go into things expecting everyone to disagree with them instead of expecting everyone to have the same views as them and agree with them 100%, things would be better, because there'd be more conversations like this. Like, JT, we've been friends for a while, but I know that you and I have very varying views on a lot of different things, but
I think that's the point of kind of why I'm doing this. The podcast Controversies Over Coffee. That's kind of the point. We're in a relaxed setting. We're sitting here as friends. We're drinking delicious beverages.
Yes.
We're talking over something that's usually a topic that has people up in arms. People get very angry and emotional over this subject, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this. I kind of wanted to see, what would happen if people sat down and
it's refreshing.
Yeah, just talked in a new kind of, have a new mindset about things and a relaxed perspective. And so just kind of speaking on what you had said earlier about economic standpoint, I want to kind of talk about that. Usually there's only two sides seen to the abortion debate, and that's pro-choice and pro-life. Now, I kind of want to talk about the other side. I want to say how it's an economic issue as much as it is a social one and moral. And I'm going to talk about, I'm going to bring up some facts, some information. I want you guys to kind of think about them and come up with an opinion, see if your opinion originally had been changed by any of this. Research done in the United States shows that roughly 5% of reproductive age women have an unintended pregnancy each year, and those pregnancies disproportionately occur among low-income and poor women.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore,
5%.
according to research done by Heather D. Boonstra, the director of public policy at Guttmacher University, shows that low-income women also struggle to afford abortion, particularly because the Hyde Amendment has long restricted Medicaid coverage for abortion care. That a lot of the time, in order to come up with the money necessary for this procedure, women are forced to forego food for themselves and their children, to miss rent payments, and to sell off personal items. What do you think about a woman who wishes to have a child but is forced to receive an abortion because of her financial status? And the flip side of that, a woman who is forced to have a child she does not want but cannot afford an abortion.
I think that goes back to what I said earlier about men not taking responsibility with women. They're not providing, they're lazy, they often don't want to work. I think the economic libido of this country's gone, and I think we're seeing it in our families, we're seeing it in the streets. Low income, like I said, I think statistically, and I don't want to come off as racist or anything or a bigot, but I think this is meaning more towards the lower income black communities, Mexican, and other immigrants. Like I said, Margaret Sanger, you can Google this, you can check this, is proven to be a racist. She thought colored folks were weeds, and this was meant to be a genocide. But to go back to this, I don't know, I think it's a responsibility of men, both colors, every religious view. I think it's their responsibility to provide, and I think that's what we're losing in this country.
Casey?
Yeah. So about women being forced to have a child that she doesn't want because she can't afford an abortion. Is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty much assuming that there's two options. There's raise your child until it's 18 and beyond, or have an abortion.
Yeah.
It's not, A or B. You can have your child and you can put it up for adoption.
Yep.
Or you can, if you have family members, I don't know what your personal situation is, but maybe you have a family member who would raise it. That's, assuming a lot, but that happens a lot where someone's sister-in-law or someone's aunt or something. But more often than not, people won't make decisions like that going into it with it's either
That
I
clear
raise
of a
this
head.
child for the rest of my
Mhm.
life or I abort it right now.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's kind of a,
Well, and there's so much more emotion around
there's
it,
so
too.
much emotion that goes behind it. And of course, like 3 dudes talking about this is hard for us to like relate
Yeah.
to, like really truly relate to. But, yeah, I think putting it binary like that, like there are 2 options, I think that's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's a issue. It's not the, like,
Hmm.
number one, like the only,
Yeah.
thing,
Yep.
the only possibility.
No, I think you make good points about putting up for adoption. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that can't have children or
That
would
can't
just
have
like to
children that would
adopt.
love to. Yeah.
That would love to give them a chance. And I mean, I think we can also look at the psychological effects of having an abortion, even the physical, I think. That's not something that just goes away.
Like on the woman. you're
Yeah,
saying?
like having an abortion,
Yeah.
like mentally, that sticks with you.
I agree, but again, that's a decision that should be theirs to make.
I think, like I said, why are we forcing these young women to take on this subject alone? Why do they have to deal with keeping or getting rid of a child alone? Like I said, I think, and this goes back generational too, I think the importance of a father figure growing up, just the way you go about things and how you parent your own children is pretty important. Like I said, let's stop forcing these young women to make this choice, like A or B, on their own. I just don't think that's fair to them at all.
It's also not just young women.
Well, just women in general.
Yeah, it's women, and
35
again,
and below,
like
typically.
I understand your like stance, and I agree with your stance on like having a strong father figure and having someone like a male figure, to do what men are supposed to do. But I think that's almost like an irrelevant topic when it comes to like the economic factors of abortion and how like girls are carrying out their pregnancies because they can't afford an abortion, or girls are getting abortions because they think that they can't afford to have a child,
Yeah.
which is, and I need to address that is an issue going on in our country, but I think there needs to be more media awareness and more like outreach and education to, educate and inform people that even if money is your biggest issue in your personal life, it doesn't have to be a money issue. There are millions, I don't know about that, thousands, probably millions of people who would love to have your child if you don't want it, you know? And again, I'm in no place to tell people what to do with their kid, but whenever I feel like if I knew someone who's in the situation, the advice that I would give that person would to be just not to look at it as 2 different choices. You know, you have other choices, you have people, you have programs that you can reach out to that will help you through these kind of situations. It saddens me that is as much of an issue as it is.
But that's kind of the thing, like this is a very economic thing that we usually don't think about, and they're forced to think about the numbers because that's what they have to think about. And so that's kind of the reason why I've shared this information. I want you guys to see this different side, even if it isn't a comfortable thing to think about. I want you guys to kind of see like what we need to do economically as a country going forward. Kind of to like look past like our sides, which you guys have done. You've done a great job of just like talking about it, and proceed together to help our low income citizens and just help these people, and just kind of aid them and just trying to fix that problem.
See the broader issue.
Yeah, see the broader
I
issue.
think is a big...
Well, and I think it's important to address not all these abortions are being paid just out of pocket.
Well, aren't there clinics also?
There's
free
clinics. And here's the thing, though. Like, I think it's pretty common knowledge that the subject of abortion among women is pretty much split, almost 50-50. I think it might be 51-49. But that other group of people that are pro-life are still paying for these abortions to go on, something that they don't believe in, through tax dollars. So I don't know if that's exactly right, that we're forcing people who don't agree with something to have to pay for it. Because like I said, not all these abortions are just, no one's working extra
Yeah,
hours to get an abortion.
Mhm.
No one's going to force you to have an abortion.
Yeah.
Though. You know, that's not something that we should be afraid of. You know, no one's ever, a pro-life woman is never going to walk into an establishment, I don't know where she would walk into, and be told that she has to get an abortion.
Yeah.
You know, which at least there's that. At least, you know, it is an issue and that we're recognizing it as an issue and trying to work it out. It might be kind of a, you know, free for all right now, but at least, I mean, we can look at some positives sometimes. You know, at least we're trying to make strides.
Yeah, I mean, I think having a baby itself is a huge, huge decision. And with that comes a lot of responsibility. I don't think it's something someone can tackle on their own.
Yeah.
Like I said,
like outreach programs, you know,
yeah.
people like that can
Well, and
talk
like
to
you said,
these women
yeah,
about
like I
the
said,
issue.
making like who is the say for the baby in the womb?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna get a chance at life or not. And I know I keep bringing up men into this, but I don't think it's fair that anybody should have to, like women should have to work a full-time job and be pregnant at the same time and carry something around their womb for 9
That's
months.
true.
That's just
I
way
agree.
too much stress.
I agree.
And I don't think
I
women
agree.
get enough credit for that, but I think it's really important. For one, I think if you're mature enough to have a baby or to become pregnant, I think you got to be mature enough to handle the situation in the right way, and you can't just think about yourself.
But then there are also the women who aren't mature enough to have a baby who have been, you know, abused or mistreated and now are in a situation where they're going to have a baby.
You mean like sexual assault?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like sexual assault. There could be like, it's horrible, like 16, 17-year-old girls who aren't ready to have a baby, and they know they're not ready and they haven't made the choice to have a baby, but they're about to have a baby.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that's when putting them up for adoption comes into play. It's unfortunate. A lot of women have children at 16, 17, 18. I mean, I have an aunt and an uncle who both had children before they were 18. Both of them went up to adoption. One of them we actually found a number of years ago. I want to say 10 years ago. He lived not that far from us, but he's in touch with us now. Everything's great. The other one, we don't know where he is. Apparently there's another Larson up there somewhere.
Hey.
But I don't know. It's not just black and white. I think it's important to address that.
That's clear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
For sure.
a gray argument. You know, there isn't really
Big old gray
a
area.
right or wrong side. That's why that's why it is controversy. That's why it's something that is so talked about and debated. So yeah, just want to say thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Thank you for having us
This
as
was
well.
definitely enlightening. It was good to talk about this.
For sure.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to end this segment by talking a little bit about my own thoughts. Before coming across this new side to the conflict, I was pretty much just pro-choice. Now more than ever, I think that it is extremely important to address our country's economic issues alongside abortion. These two things are interlocked and directly affect each other. Something that JT said earlier kind of made me think about this, some research that I had done myself. 2/3 of the United States abortions are paid for by public insurance companies. If that example does not perfectly encapsulate the economic abortion crisis, I don't know what will. Pro-choice and pro-life. This is powerful terminology, and they're both powerful movements. Both sides need to come together and acknowledge the impoverished and needy in our country before coming to blows about abortion. First, we must solve our country's economic issues, and then and only then can we make the right decision on abortion. This has been Controversies Over Coffee. I'm your host, Austin Katz, and thanks for tuning in.